It's the mid-90s.
Hello, please hold.
There's a new president in the White House.
It was a very, very positive time, and he seemed to embody it.
The economic boom is in full swing.
Optimism, creativity, possibility.
And the internet is taking hold of our lives.
All these amazing, radical changes are underway.
Life is good.
I just happened to be in the right place at the right time.
Our whole job was just trying to make each other laugh.
But on the horizon, storm clouds are gathering, ready to blow America apart.
We had no idea what was on the way.
It was absolutely frightening.
It would become a symbol and an inspiration. The federal government versus the people, complete with jackboots, black helicopters, and illegal weaponry.
Waco was the power of a cult. Waco counterbalanced that with the awesome, fierce power of federal law enforcement. What can go wrong?
And the United States government essentially instigated an act of terror against citizens of the United States of America. That's wrong.
Waco, Texas, a small town that until 1993 was best known for its historic steel bridge and being the birthplace of Dr. Pepper.
Darkness to the light.
High school dropout and wannabe rock singer, David Koresh now has a new ambition. He claims to be the son of God. And in a compound on the outskirts of town, this would-be Messiah is collecting followers.
Revelation states that Christ has the key of David. There's 150 Psalms here. Some people find it amazing that I know every one of them.
Mostly in their 20s and 30s, from middle-class backgrounds, these true believers are united by a search for meaning in their lives. And they truly believe David Koresh has the answers.
Is he the son of God?
I hope he is.
What would I do for him? I love him as a brother.
The Branch Davidians believe the apocalypse is coming. And they are busy stockpiling illegal weapons, including AK-47s. Worried about the amount of guns the cult are accumulating, the ATF decide to raid the compound. So confident are they of success, agents nicknamed the raid Showtime. But Koresh and his cult members are expecting them.
They knew that the ATF was coming. They had all taken their battle stations. They had more powerful weaponry. One ATF agent described it as a hailstorm in reverse.
It looked like a dust-off from a fire zone in Vietnam and with a medevac helicopter coming in to pull people out. It was chaos. It was very, very disturbing.
4 ATF agents are killed in the raid, and 5 Branch Davidians.
They had bigger firearms than we had. They were able to shoot through doors. Due to that, you know, a lot of our agents were hurt.
"124 members survive in the compound, including David Koresh. The FBI is called in to replace the ATF.
I received a call from headquarters, and they said, "Bob, pack a bag. You need to get ready and go down to Waco." Most people were shell-shocked. It looked like they were people who had just come back from a combat zone.
We're still very much concerned that he may force his followers to do things that are not rational.
You don't walk away from an incident where you have 9 dead bodies.
For the American people, it's another grim episode of the ongoing reality TV series called The 90s.
Faced with stalled negotiations, federal agents are moving in more hardware.
People were tuning in every night to see what was going to happen. How is this going to end? It's like a cliffhanger.
We had over 2,000 members of the media present. In fact, it grew so large that they established their own media city. They elected a mayor of Media City.
We put up tents, we put up awnings. One group of us spilled some sand and put some plastic palm trees down. We had margarita parties on Friday nights, probably more nights than just that.
Bob Ricks and his team tried to negotiate a peaceful settlement, but Koresh refuses to surrender, claiming that he's waiting for instructions from God. As the standoff turns from days into weeks, spectators start to arrive.
Entrepreneurs capitalize on a bad situation.
How much are the t-shirts?
$12.
And why are you selling them?
Like $1.
To some, David Koresh and his followers become heroes, bravely facing down a government run amok.
I'm telling you, you have to arm yourself sometime against these type of Gestapo
and kill them.
And well, hey, when they come in on your house, you gonna let them come in and shoot you?
What is happening over our city and in this region and even across our nation calls for God's people to stand up and be counted.
It's getting tense and tense and tense and tense. What's going to happen?
The FBI cut all the power and water to the compound, forcing those inside to survive on rainwater and stockpiled military rations.
The meaning of the apocalypse is called the revelation of Jesus Christ, which God gave to him.
The rhetoric of David Koresh is growing very dark. He's making more threatening comments.
And there's a lot more children than what they've said, too.
The real concern was how many would he perhaps kill, cause an incident to cause us to have to rush in so we would be killed.
After 51 days of standoff and worried by reports of child abuse inside the compound, the FBI decides to send in the tanks.
It appears as if they're starting a full-scale wrecking operation almost, I guess, in a sense to show they mean business at this point.
Yes, they're punching a hole in it. You see it right there. See, they've made a massive hole in the side of that building.
A fire starts.
Large flames now from the top of the building. This 40-mile-an-hour wind is just whipping it way beyond control.
The rest plays out live on television.
Huge clouds of black smoke.
We don't see anybody coming out of the compound yet.
We literally could feel waves of heat from a mile away coming across the field to where we were from that fire.
This is an area the size of a city block that's on fire. We are not seeing any indication of life anywhere.
He was not coming out peacefully. It was always going to be on his own terms.
Many blame the authorities for the deaths, and they fuel anti-government paranoia.
This is the G. Gordon Liddy Show.
So the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms comes to disarm you, and they are bearing arms. Resist them with arms. Go for a headshot. They're going to be wearing bulletproof vests.
There were more and more right-wing extremist movements, the militia movement, that were seizing on that anti-government feeling.
It's the freedom of religion, freedom of speech, freedom to bear arms. They weren't hurting anybody. Why did the government have to go in there and do what they did?
The government continues to alienate the people from it. Then war is inevitable, revolution is inevitable.
Crazy is in the air and on the airwaves.
They can't put 40 million of you in jail.
But some crazy is positively from a different dimension. for by the middle of the decade, real threats are being replaced by existential and extraterrestrial ones.
The Berlin Wall had fallen, the Cold War was over. We were without a really good villain. We didn't quite know what to be afraid of.
What do we have to worry about next? Hey, what about what's way out in space?
Aliens feature on popular talk shows.
We're talking today with Harvard University psychiatrist John Mack.
Mack tells Oprah that he studied over 100 people who claim to have been abducted by aliens.
They're taken up. They may see a spaceship, they may not. They may see their home recede.
There are regular folk who tell you stories, and you say to yourself, why would they lie?
My mother and I have both had close encounters of the fourth kind, also known as abduction experiences. We've undergone physical examination, mind scan process, and reproductive processes.
Mack's study on alien abduction gives Carter the idea for a television show based on UFOs.
One of the ways I pitched the X-Files was with Mack's scientific survey. I went in with, I would call it, hard science.
Nobody ever lost money investing in the paranoia of the American people, and the X-Files becomes an incredible hit.
The show that I created sort of capitalized on a general sort of free-floating anxiety.
Most of us here have been taken many times. Taken? Taken where? The bright white place?
The thing about the X-Files, it reflected a very, very deep suspicion on the part of so many people in our culture that we weren't being told the truth.
X-Files taps into this idea that there are things out there that the government knows of that the government doesn't want us to know about.
With the help of the internet, the culture of conspiracy spreads like some kind of alien virus. And in 1995, shocking evidence of an alleged government conspiracy emerges. When a documentary producer claims to have gotten hold of mysterious footage from an equally mysterious Army cameraman.
In 1947, he'd photographed what was the crash of a vehicle. He didn't know whether it was a spaceship or a flying saucer, but his job was to photograph the recovery of the vehicle and everything that occurred, including the autopsies.
The tape reignites suspicion of what really went down at Roswell Air Force Base, New Mexico, in 1947. The government is forced to respond. The Air Force issue 2 reports that claim there were never any UFOs at Roswell. They had been dropping test dummies into the desert.
The people there saw body bags come out because the dummies were put into body bags to protect them.
But the government denials didn't stop people from believing the tape was real.
Why shouldn't they believe it? It's real.
Except for a few tiny things.
We reconstructed scenes. The person who helped create the creature is a special effects expert.
Bogus or not, it was real enough to inspire an episode of The X-Files.
What is it?
According to the magazine ad I answered, it's an alien autopsy. Guaranteed authentic.
You spent money for this?
$29.95, plus shipping.
Wild paranoia against imagined enemies would come to define the 90s. But there were real enemies out there. In the dark world of female figure skating?
The World Heritage Special. Sankt Petersburg a fost odată simbol al epocii de aur a Rusiei țariste. Dar istoria modernă i-a adus comorile în ruină.
We've gone through a lot of threats and a lot of losses.
Azi, o echipă de restauratori are misiunea de a proteja valorile trecutului. The World Heritage Special. Sâmbătă la 6 pe National Geographic. Sponsorizat de A Better Life, A Better World. Panasonic.
Bărbieritul perfect în spațiu?
Acum da, cu revoluționarul Philips S9000 și tehnologia Contour Detect. Pivotare în 8 direcții și o alunecare perfectă pe conturul feței tale. Mai multe fire tăiate la fiecare trecere a aparatului pentru rezultate de excepție. Acesta este bărbieritul viitorului. Noul Philips S9000. Innovation in you. Philips.
Într-un Happy Meal găsești bucurii cât te poftești. Bunătăți din carne de vită 100% sau din carne de pui, felii de măr sau salate din ingrediente proaspete, sucuri de fructe și în fiecare săptămână o surpriză. Pentru momente fericite petrecute împreună. Happy Meal. Fiecare primește ce-și dorește la doar 10,9 lei.
Uite-te la soțul meu. Cu o oră în urmă se plângea de durere de spate. Nu se putea mișca, pleca. Mai devreme și-ar fi lăsat mișcările de dansator acasă. Foarte bine!
E Voltaren Emulgel. Cu puterea sa concentrată, acționează cu efect triplu. Calmează durerea, reduce inflamația din profunzime și grăbește procesul de vindecare. Simte efectul Voltaren și bucură-te de mișcare. Voltaren. Bucuria mișcării. Acesta este un medicament. Citiți cu atenție prospectul.
Buonasera, my friends. Today I'm going to talk to you about a very own snack, pizzati. Pizzati is good for you because it's made from real bread, tomatoes, and real cheese. Some people deny to eat pizzati, and now they've got serious health problems. For example, Carlo didn't want to eat pizzati and now he can walk. Eat pizzati. Pizzati. The whole snack.
Imodium restabilește ritmul normal al sistemului tău digestiv și tratează rapid diarea de cauză neinfecțioasă.
Cu Vitamax te întreci cu energia până în cealaltă emisferă. Cumpără Vitamax, trimite numărul bonului fiscal și poți pleca într-un safari în Africa de Sud. Intră pe teîntrecicuenergia.ro.
Zahărul e peste tot. Pastele de dinți Aquafresh întăresc și apără activ dinții împotriva zaharurilor din alimentația zilnică. Aquafresh, protecție împotriva zaharurilor. Încearcă azi pasta de dinți Aquafresh Complete Care, protecție împotriva zaharurilor.
Suferi de hemoroizi? Sigur nu vrei să ajungi aici. Acum există Prestogel, tratamentul rapid împotriva hemoroizilor. Scapă chiar acum de durere și hemoroizi, doar cu Prestogel. Acesta este un dispozitiv medical. Citiți cu atenție prospectul. Totul începe cu un sunet. Sunetul unui cec gras de 500 de kilograme în cârlig. Dar oricine a dat la ton știe, se prinde sau s-a dus, cât ai clipi. Depinde cât ești de iute de mână. La pescuit de ton. Azi la 9 pe National Geographic Channel.
Only in the 90s could a figure skating rivalry turn into a criminal case, a primetime soap opera, and a primal class struggle all at the same time.
I've lived this whole entire scenario for the last 20 years. And I will have to live it for the rest of my life.
U.S. figure skater and Olympic favorite Nancy Kerrigan is leaving a practice in Detroit. But someone is waiting in the wings.
A man jumps out with a retractable police baton and whacks her once on the knee.
Why indeed?
You know, you can ask the question, why did it happen? But I ask the question, why did it happen?
The next day, while Nancy is on the sidelines, her closest rival, Tanya Harding, wins at the Nationals, guaranteeing her a spot on the Olympic team. Harding is a fierce competitor. To some, too fierce.
I'm
I'm really happy, but it won't be a true crown until I get my chance with Nancy, and that'll be Olympics, and let me tell you, I'm gonna whip her butt.
But then, shocking news breaks.
Wake up to my radio, and the lead story is the FBI is investigating Tonya Harding's husband in the attack on Nancy Kerrigan. Oh my God.
The story grips the nation. And just 3 weeks after the attack, her ex-husband, Jeff Gillooly, pleads guilty, but accuses Tonya of being the mastermind.
Tonya categorically denies those allegations.
You know, I haven't done anything wrong.
Jeff and his buddies thought that they were going to start up a security business. I mean, morons that couldn't even polish shoes or put one foot in front of the other one.
I thought what they did was, you know, some very, very hood shit. You know what I'm saying?
If I had big money, they would be able to use my money to make their money. I mean, everybody in my life has always used me.
You guys, will you go away, please?
With an entire nation watching on TV, Tonya maintains she didn't plan the attack.
It's not true. Anybody who knows me knows it's not true.
She was able to figure out how to play her hand, how to get those violin strings rolling. It was quite remarkable.
People have to open their ears, have an open mind, and get all the facts before you start pointing fingers.
After weeks of denial, Tonya finally admits she did know about the attack, but only when her ex-husband privately confessed after the event. She maintains that he physically threatened her in order to stop her from telling anyone else.
I am embarrassed and ashamed.
As she has not yet been found guilty of any crime, Tonya is still allowed to face a now recovered Nancy Kerrigan at the 1994 Olympics.
Just keep believing in me, and I'm gonna go there and I'm gonna win.
Assigned to cover the Tonya beat 24/7 is veteran CBS reporter Connie Chung.
Nancy Kerrigan was the pure white lily princess. Tonya Harding was the bad girl, the wicked witch. But ultimately, we, reporters, both print and television, enhanced those roles.
Every single person out there that's in media wanted a piece of me. I couldn't even breathe. And I get hit in the head all the time with the cameras. And that hurts.
Forget Nancy and Tonya. The real battle here was between Tonya and Connie.
The world is not talking about you because of your figure skating. You know that, don't you?
No.
I mean, I have to hand it to her. She was wickedly wily. She was wickedly wily. It has to do with the controversy. It has to do with the attack.
It has to do with skating.
She just kept asking the same question like 2-3 different times. Actually, I think it was like 3 or 4 times. And I kept telling her the same answer.
I'm not going to talk about that.
Because I don't know how any other way of answering the questions that you asked me. So if you don't like it,
I'm not going to answer that.
Tough.
What you knew about the attack afterwards.
Okay, I'm done. I'm done with this. Thanks, Connie.
Would I take it personally? Oh, please. God, she's gone. Thank the Lord. Thank you.
Nancy Kerrigan was asked her odds, given all the controversy.
It's kind of like reading a book and you just can't wait to get to the end and see what happens.
I'm just so proud to be a part of America's cheering section for all of you. When Nancy and Tonya competed is the 6th highest rated show in U.S. television history, forevermore. Nancy Kerrigan was just terrific. Took the lead in the competition and was poised for a gold medal.
But then, in the second routine, disaster. Tonya needs to change her lace.
And suddenly she goes crying to the judges, puts her skate up and says, my
my laces are broken. You know, I get
Lordy.
Last in this group. Get out of the way. Get out of the way. We'll do the whole thing in together.
Hello, people. This is not hockey.
Tanya completes her final routine, but scores poorly and finishes 8th. But Nancy Kerrigan wins the silver medal.
You know what? I'm human. I have feelings. I had a life. At least I thought I did.
Tanya Harding was a tabloid princess who many thought belonged on a different kind of TV show than that stuffy live Olympics. And everyone knew just what that show was.
9 years ago, I spent time with a woman I shouldn't have, and I paid her with a check. I wish I hadn't done that, and the truth is, I wish no one would ever know. But in the rough world of politics, opponents are not about to let personal embarrassments lay to rest.
My background is politics. When I couldn't run again, NBC came to me and said, "You've just finished your terms as mayor, and we'd like you to anchor the news."
This is News 5 at 6 with Jerry Springer.
We were pretty dominant in the ratings, so one day they take me to lunch and said, "We're starting a new talk show, you're going to host it."
One, go 2 stories, 3, 2.
When the Jerry Springer Show started, it was actually a kind of respectable show. He had legitimate political figures. He had Jesse Jackson on, he had Oliver North on. Come season 2, the ratings are completely tanking.
Mr. Jerry Springer!
With the show about to be canceled, a new producer gives it a very extreme makeover.
I came up with make the show interesting with the sound off. There would be something on that screen that would make you stop. The Jerry, Jerry, Jerry chant came because if the audience was on their feet chanting Jerry, Jerry, people were going to think he was famous.
We decided we're only going to have young people in the audience and young subject matter. Well, young people are much more open about their lives, much crazier, wilder, and so the show started to go crazy.
I'm really a man.
It has to be outrageous, inappropriate, outside the norm of accepted behavior, because that's what the show is about.
It's just the greatest thing there is.
The show didn't need to fight for a viewing audience. The viewing audience starts to fight for the show. Nothing succeeds like excess, and the brawls become a ritual.
Here I am, a Chicago police officer, and not even trying to be in the entertainment field. And when the show took off, it was huge. It's hilarious. It's hillbillies fighting, you know?
He's actually been sleeping with her best friend.
To Springer, the show tapped into a universal truth.
You take an English professor from Harvard. If he comes home one night and finds his wife in bed with a next-door neighbor, do you for 1 second think that that very well-cultured, educated English professor would say, "Forsooth, my dear, what is it that I have found?" No, he'd say, "Get the F out of here." He'd start throwing things, screaming, yelling. The truth is, in a certain situation, we all behave the same way.
Please welcome Alexa to the show. I can't believe it. I have an outfit just like it.
I know that you know that I've been with men and things, but oh, God.
In the chase for ratings, the show becomes a petri dish of aberrant social behaviors.
Here is your brother. He goes by the name now of Hillary.
Everything is up for grabs. Every individual personal relationship is now potentially a subject of entertainment for the public.
We don't need to spend money on national defense anymore, because when other countries see our show, no one wants to come over and take us over anymore.
He's better than Oprah.
Jerry, Jerry, Jerry.
If you want to save the whales, call Oprah. If you're sleeping with a whale, call us.
Jerry Springer might have been the beginning of the end of really great television for a while, because we have really great television now, but there was a period where it became really crap.
But crap is in the eye of the beholder. Ratings are soaring. And imitation being the sincerest form of television, the Springer Circus inspires a host of copycats.
Look who's talking now. 14 new talk shows will try to be heard along with 19 existing blabfests by fall of 1995.
TV is no longer lowbrow, it's no-brow. And this race to the bottom leads to a deadly stumble. A guest on the Jenny Jones show is invited to meet a secret admirer and discovers on air that his admirer is another man.
He's got a cute little hard body.
Jonathan Schmidt is so humiliated, he shoots his secret admirer.
At that point, people sort of had to stop and take a hard look at, okay, what are we considering to be entertainment?
We will have no censorship. This is free speech. This is America.
The Jenny Jones show brought a fragile character, subjected him to humiliation, and look what they produced. They had a powder keg.
But it seems there's no going back. And by 1998, the mayor of Dysfunction Junction is beating Oprah in the ratings. Jerry's invited to speak at Oxford University. And other even more prestigious honors follow.
My son like that. It's okay, Spike. You mother.
Mike Myers said, let's destroy the set, and we destroyed the set, just throwing chairs and breaking the walls down. It was crazy, and it was really cool.
Now an icon, Springer is honored by the cultural elite, becoming the subject of an opera.
So just to recap, no heckling, no fighting, no throwing things or throwing up.
My mom would have been proud when I became an opera. You know, she said, Gerald, you got some culture, you're an opera.
Mașini clasice și vieți schimbate. Echipa de salvatori revine cu aceeași nobilă misiune. De data asta va fi și mai complicat.
Look at it, it's half a car. And the other half here, the engine is falling to pieces.
De la superbele anilor 60 la minunile tehnicii anilor 80. Tot mai departe. SOS Mașini clasice. În fiecare luni la 9 pe National Geographic Channel.
Primăvara a venit, oferte pentru cei mici am pregătit. Reînnoiește-le garderoba cu setul de tricouri pentru băieți la 19,99 lei. Bluză pentru fete la 19,99 lei. Jeggings pentru fete la 19,99 lei. Și pantaloni pentru băieți la 29,99 lei. Lidl, ceva nou în fiecare săptămână.
De Paște, Cel.ro te ajută să oferi bucurii persoanelor dragi ție. De aceea am dat startul promoțiilor de sărbătoare și îți oferim reduceri de până la 40% la electrocasnice, telefoane, parfumuri, cosmetice și multe altele. Profită acum! Cel.ro. Bucură-te de cel mai cel preț!
Astfel începe legenda Holston. Berea protejată de cavaleri, cinstită de noi toți. Holston Pilsner, berea cu blazon.
Pentru că ei reprezintă esența stilului meu. AM, fiecare model 179 lei, pentru că iubim pantofii. Deichmann. Nimic incitant? Privește aici. Umplutură de praline cu arahide, fină și savuroasă, acoperită cu o cremă bogată de cacao și învelită într-un aluat pufos. Incitant? Noul 7 Days Peanut. Incitant.
Trăiește ofertele de primăvară cu Star Player Converse la 169,99 lei. Trăiește Intersport. Sport to the people.
Cu Vitamax te întreci cu energia până în cealaltă emisferă. Cumpără Vitamax, trimite numărul bonului fiscal și poți pleca într-un safari în Africa de Sud. Intră pe teîntrecicuenergia.ro.
National Geographic. O aventură de proporții epice în univers. A început ca un dezastru urmat de o salvare in extremis. Programul Hubble Călătoria Cosmică celebrează 25 de ani ambițioși. Iar oamenii din spațiu cercetează secretele universului. Spațiu, ultima frontieră. Din 25 aprilie pe National Geographic Channel.
Emisiune oferită de FX de la Rompetrol.
Despite entering an economic boom, the last great superpower, America, is tearing itself apart at home.
Closing time. Open all the doors and let you out into the world.
And it's about to face a new kind of war overseas, in a country many Americans have never heard of.
When those Marines hit the beaches in Somalia, expecting perhaps to be attacked, they were met by camera crews.
America has gone to Somalia to distribute famine relief.
You don't have to go home, but you can't stay.
Within a few weeks, the problem we went to solve was fixed. Food was flowing, the people were being taken care of. Then I think a strategic choice was made, which was not perhaps the best one. And that was, okay, now that we're here, in order to keep this from happening again, let's establish a democratic system.
Somalia's capital, Mogadishu, is run by heavily armed militias, driving Mad Max-style war machines. U.S. troops were tasked with taking down powerful Somali warlord Mohammed Aidid.
Sunday afternoon, October 3rd, we launched a mission to take down two high-ranking leaders in Aidid's clan that were meeting at the same time. Army Rangers from my unit flew in on Black Hawk helicopters. My role was to lead the long column of Humvees through the city streets to position close to the target building.
The world's leading superpower versus a bunch of guys in pickup trucks. What could possibly go wrong?
We were already getting sporadic enemy gunfire as soon as I pulled up. We had 6 Black Hawks hovering over the target. The entire city seemed like it was shooting at us.
And they have the right tools for the job.
Thousands of RPGs were fired into the sky that day. It's basically fly your helicopters through a wall of rocket-propelled grenades, and eventually you're going to get hit.
This is not the kind of Hollywood ending America had anticipated.
I think that was the moment that all of us realized none of us may make it out of the city alive.
How did a humanitarian mission turn violent?
Jeff Strucker's mission to arrest Aidid's deputies now becomes a desperate attempt to rescue their own injured comrades.
Now they've got a very significant force in danger, vastly outnumbered by a very well-armed citizenry out in the streets of Mogadishu.
We were getting shot at from 100 directions. We were trying to return fire to rooftops and alleyways and doorways and windows all at the same time. Down the road on the right side, waiting for us, was a Somali gunman. And when we got right next to him, he saw one of the machine gunners named Dominic Pilla at the same time that Pilla saw him. These two guys turned their weapons to each other at the same moment. Pilla was shot in the forehead and he was killed instantly.
After taking his dead and injured colleagues back to the base, Jeff then returns to Mogadishu to try and rescue the helicopter crew. He gets within a few hundred meters of the downed chopper, but there's no way through.
Black Hawk Down essentially made everybody take a look and say, okay, look, we need to disengage from this.
The president's orders to me were, we're going to stay there for 6 months. During those 6 months, I do not want another American soldier to die.
And that meant not engaging with the enemy.
I'm absolutely convinced that may have been one of the worst foreign policy decisions in the U.S. history. I mean, essentially what the U.S. government was saying to the world is, if you punch us in the nose hard enough, if you make us bleed, we'll put our tail between our legs and we'll run away.
One man in particular was watching very closely.
Bin Laden, his big takeaway from all this is if you inflict enough damage on the United States, it's just going to pull out of wherever you want it to pull out of.
Clinton pulls back from acting as the world's policeman. Rwanda is a divided country. 85% of its people are Hutu. Its largest minority are Tutsi. For generations, these two ethnic groups have been in conflict. A United Nations force has been in the country since 1993, maintaining a fragile peace between the Hutu government and the Tutsi insurgents. But when the president's plane is shot down on April 6, 1994, the country explodes in violence.
They were done so fast, and everybody took machetes and started butchering the neighbors.
It was an eruption within.
Tutsis are blamed for the president's death. And government-sponsored radio broadcasts encourage Hutus to slaughter Tutsis.
They started preaching, teaching people how to kill.
Paul Rusesabagina is Hutu. His wife is Tutsi. He decides to drive his family to the luxury hotel he manages.
All along the road, I could see a lot of dead bodies, and some of them missing their heads, rotting already. That was the scariest moment of my life.
They make it to safety in the hotel. Foreign-owned and popular with the Rwandan government elites, it might be Paul's family's best chance of survival. But outside, things are about to get worse. The UN decides to pull all but a few hundred troops out of the country.
The message was more than clear. We were being abandoned.
Let those people be massacred in their hundreds of thousands, and we could have stopped it.
Soldiers regularly come to the hotel, telling Paul to surrender the Tutsis hiding there. But over his years as hotel manager, Paul has garnered favors with the army commanders. He begs, flatters, and bribes them to leave the people at the hotel alone.
I came in a face-to-face situation many times with the devil and always came up with a compromise.
It was a precarious, tiny island surrounded by a sea of slaughter.
I don't use terms like evil, but clearly what had been going on was beyond dreadful.
All the hope of surviving we had vanished. All the hope vanished.
When all seems lost and Paul has no more favors to call in, the government and rebel forces come to an agreement. Everyone at the hotel will be evacuated to safety.
People were saying their final prayers. But that morning, our life was saved.
The story of his fight for survival will be turned into a Hollywood movie called Hotel Rwanda.
What is it? Rusese begine. All Rusese begine. I'll remember you.
Hotel Rwanda is a really kind of interesting example of being able to relate to something that is unbelievably and inhumanly bad, if you like, through the microcosm of one small place and one person's story.
When you go through such an experience, you don't realize what you're going through. You do what your conscience tells you to be the right thing to be done.
President Clinton afterwards said that it was his greatest failure as a president and recognized that armed peacekeepers could have saved that country from genocide.
Totul începe cu un sunet. Sunetul unui cec gras de 500 de kilograme în cârlig. Dar oricine a dat la ton știe, se prinde sau s-a dus, cât ai clipi. Depinde cât ești de iute de mână. La pescuit de ton. Azi la 9 pe National Geographic Channel.
Și se intră pe pile. Pilele sunt pofta și flama din privire. Lumea dansează îmbibată în iubire.
Ai o zi proastă? Ia-ți o doză de distracție. Hai la luptă, desfășoară-te, joacă așa cum vrei. World of Tanks. Joacă gratuit la tankist.ro.
Același hotel, aceeași piscină, dar două prețuri diferite. De ce să plătiți mai mult? Verificați cu Trivago. Trivago găsește mereu cel mai avantajos preț pentru mai mult de 700.000 de hoteluri, comparând peste 150 de site-uri diferite. Pur și simplu vă alegeți hotelul ideal și Trivago vă arată unde să rezervați la cel mai bun preț. Hotel Trivago.
Acum 3 ani am început să vând pe ocazii.ro, așa într-o doar. Astăzi mă gândesc serios să-mi deschid un magazin online tot pe ocazii.ro, pentru că între timp am primit sute de calificative pozitive.
Doar pe ocazii.ro, vânzătorii primesc calificative de la clienții lor. Vino să fii vânzător de încredere pe ocazii.ro.
Nimic incitant? Privește aici. Umplutură de praline cu arahide, fină și savuroasă, acoperită cu o cremă bogată de cacao și învelită într-un aluat pufos. Incitant? Noul 7 Days Peanut. Incitant.
Ce poți spune cu Tuborg? Spune că vrei să împărtășești. Spune-i să zâmbească mai des. Spune-le că vrei pe scenă. Spune-i că o iubești. Spune-le că începe distracția. Say it with Tuborg. Open for more.
Trăiește ofertele de primăvară cu Star Player Converse la 169,99 lei. Trăiește Intersport. Sport to the people.
National Geographic. O aventură de proporții epice în univers. A început ca un dezastru urmat de o salvare in extremis.
Nailed it.
Programul Hubble Călătoria Cosmică celebrează 25 de ani ambițioși. Iar oamenii din spațiu cercetează secretele Universului. Spațiu, ultima frontieră. Din 25 aprilie pe National Geographic Channel.
The San Diego Padres are about to take on the Cincinnati Reds in a mid-season game. Little did America know, the terror was about to hit a home run.
Another tragedy, a national tragedy.
My reaction is it was disgraceful.
I started too high.
It all depends on just how you define high. Despite being at the peak of her success, Roseanne Barr was on a combination of psychiatric drugs at the time.
Prescription meds were just a fantastic way to cope. I mean, when you wanted to sleep, you'll sleep, especially if you're working. And, you know, if you're really depressed and you have to produce, you kind of thought, well, you know, better living through chemicals.
Roseanne was tapping into this new reality of America, as the early 1990s saw the introduction of a brand new type of antidepressants known as SSRIs, chief among them Prozac.
Talk to your doctor today or visit Prozac.com. Welcome back.
Thanks to Prozac, it's now not only okay to admit depression, it's actually encouraged.
Everybody was like, well, it's bipolar, manic depressive, you know what I mean? It was like all these, the advent of these new, you know, psychological drugs.
I was on Prozac for a long time. Yep.
America and its medication is literally going to the dogs.
And it was like a miracle cure for Jake. He gets his Prozac, and it eases him right through his anxious moments, and there's just no after effect.
There were plenty of doctors going around that were willing to just write a script all day long and give these kids whatever they wanted.
Look, my stomach really hurts.
All I can give you are these chewable Prozac for kids. Your choice, manic depressive mouse or the bluebird of unhappiness.
But America's love of prescription drugs is not confined to antidepressants.
I wouldn't know anything about prescription drug use problems, but I can guess at some of them.
Following a jet ski accident, Matthew Perry becomes addicted to Vicodin, a prescription painkiller.
I was in the throes of a problem, and I didn't talk to anybody about it. It's very secret. People aren't really talking about, you know, I just took 7 Vicodin, how many did you take? It's mostly about hiding it.
The line between street drugs and prescription medicine is becoming blurred.
The euphoric high was the same, even though you were, you know, paying money at a pharmacy and getting a legitimate prescription.
In 1997, Matthew Perry checks himself into rehab. Roseanne Barr also gets off the meds, but she's never invited to sing the national anthem again. It struck without warning. First, the infection was local, confined only to Miami Beach.
I remember being in a club looking down and saying, why is everybody country line dancing to a Spanish song?
There's potential for mass contagion.
A radio station down in Miami was dying to play the song, but they were an all-English station.
But first, the virus needs to be deliberately weaponized.
So they came to us and said, guys, can you do something with this song so we can play it?
Hidden in a laboratory in Florida, men with no sense of shame or mercy finalized the assembly.
This was a 2-hour project. This was do a rudimentary mix, send it to the radio station. It was as simple as that.
Chaos soon descends upon a helpless population.
I am not trying to seduce you.
When I dance, they call me Macarena, and the boys they say que soy buena.
La Macarena. Alegría Macarena, que tu cuerpo es para dar la alegría y cosas buenas. Macarena.
Oh, I forgot that one.
The central governing authorities of the earth are themselves consumed.
I would like to demonstrate for you the Al Gore version of the Macarena.
Well, that's proof of the pudding, you know. Everybody was dancing the Macarena, even Al Gore, who has 2 left feet.
Would you like to see it again?
The military stands helpless for this weapon of mass distraction.
Well, I was at a Boys and Girls Club in Arizona, and one young girl said, "Can you dance the Macarena?" And so I said to her, "Sure I can." And next thing I knew, I was on national television dancing the Macarena. I said, "Oh my God, I have to be careful."
I think everyone who attempted the Macarena is probably lucky that the videotape from that era is terribly grainy on playback.
The infection finally subsides. But soon, some recovered victims come to realize that the experience has actually changed them for the better.
As Macarena busts the door down for Latin artists crossing over into the American market, a lot of people came out of the shadows. J-Lo, Ricky Martin. It brought a whole new flavor to the American pop scene.
By the late 1990s, the Latino population is set to surpass African Americans.
Between the Latino Hispanic community and the African American community and the Asian community, in one more generation, say another 20 years, they will represent the majority of Americans, over 50%.
Știm toți